Life Coach Amanda back, continuing on my series about the 4 major inner blocks that keep us playing small, hold us back from accomplishing our dreams, whether that's through career or love or connection with others. My last video, I started with limiting beliefs. So if you missed that, maybe go back and take a look at that one. It's a really, really powerful limiting belief or limiting block. A limiting belief is something that we believe about ourselves or the world, and we just believe that to be true, and it holds us back. Something like women aren't good at math, or once you're past the age of 35, you can't find love, or whatever belief that you may be walking around with that is negatively affecting you. So I talked in the previous video that I'm speaking from what I learned through one of the coaching programs I went through called IPEC, and we talk about 4 major sort of energy suckers or attitude downers, or whatever you want to call them, that keep us stuck and not living with the high energy, positive outlook that we really want to be living, right? And get the most out of our trip on this earth. So today I'm going to talk about, we call them GAIL, the four blocks, or GAIL. I spoke about limiting beliefs, and now I'm going to talk about the I. I'm working my way backwards. And I stands for interpretation. And an interpretation, when we make an interpretation, then we make an opinion, we have an opinion or a judgment about somebody or some incident, some event, and we deem that judgment that we've made, our interpretation of that, is the absolute truth, and we run with that, right? A lot of times it comes up in this day and age of so much texting and emailing. There's so much room for things to be interpreted or misinterpreted. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has experienced that horrible, icky feeling of wondering if someone's mad at you, or you've offended somebody, or, either you interpret their silence that way or their response that way. And then that has this sort of domino effect, right, of how it makes you feel, how it makes you react and respond. So really, so much, unfortunately, of the way we interpret things is toward the negative. I think we rarely think, oh, wow, I'm going to interpret that email response, or the way that person looked at me. I'm going to interpret that as I'm great. I'm just fine. They're fine with how I am. They're not thinking about me at all. Unfortunately, interpretations tend to skew toward the negative. I wish I could explain why that is, but they do, right? We typically, when we're in a situation like that, we're interpreting toward the negative. So that's why it causes so much pain and trouble and unnecessary inner angst. So what do you do about interpretations? Well, just like we talked about with limiting beliefs, it's just the awareness around the idea that what you might be thinking is not the absolute truth with a capital T. And to challenge that interpretation, to ask yourself, okay, what could be some other explanations for this? Or what would someone else say that wasn't me? That wasn't Amanda and all of my kind of feelings and background and insecurities, being the lens through which I'm seeing this. What would my best friend potentially say an interpretation could be? What would somebody who is unattached to this what would that interpretation be? I think about, and I'm learning along the way, of course, every day, but when I first started doing workshops as a life coach, to me, someone was enjoying my presentation or my workshop if they had a big old smile on their face and they were nodding their head, and I was taking that in as, oh yeah, like I'm on it, like they love this, and that might be true. And then there'd be some other people in the audience who sort of, I couldn't read. And I interpreted that as, oh my gosh, they want me to shut up. They don't like this. Maybe I'm offending them. Maybe I'm too much. And guess what? Some of the time, those people actually were the ones that came up to me afterwards that I ended up working with more intensely and intimately one-on-one. And because their reaction was that they were really, really listening, and what I was saying was really maybe hitting home a little bit. And so they were so in the material, and really, really, it was resonating with them. And that's the expression I was getting. So that's just an example of an interpretation that had the potential to shut me down, right? To make me think, oh my gosh, people don't like what I'm doing. I need to quit doing these presentations just because I wasn't getting what I decided, that I interpreted as positive or negative response. So when you're faced with something, an email, a text, a conversation, and you are interpreting it, and you are interpreting it toward the negative, and it's causing you some pain and agony, your choices are to really examine it, to decide to open up your mind to some other interpretations. And then the other thing, right, is to get more clarification, to be brave enough, vulnerable enough to ask, to seek clarity and understanding versus just retreating back into your interpretation and letting that build up walls between you or others, or just walls within yourself of insecurity. So those are interpretations. The second energetic, block or suck or downer or whatever you want to call it, that tends to keep people in a negative space and prevents them from moving to a more positive, creative, forward-moving action. So if you have any questions or want to hear more about this, feel free to look me up on lifecoachamanda.com. And I will be back soon with our next energy downer, which is the letter A. And I'll keep you guessing on what that letter stands for. So thanks for tuning in. I'm always here to help you. Please reach out if I can answer any questions. I absolutely will respond to every email I receive. And you can find me at lifecoachamanda.com. Thank you. Have a great day.